You are now listening to the Griot's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
You know what? I care a lot about what white people think. Seriously. Whenever I'm trying to decide whether or not I should support a movement or a policy or a person or whether it benefits Black America, I wait to see what white people think about something, and then I do the opposite. And if that sounds racist, you got to know that there's never been a movement or a policy or a person that benefited Black people that was simultaneously embraced by white people. In this country, a stance against, the trauma-inducing harm of whiteness is perceived as a stance against America. And anyone who disagrees can feel free to prove me wrong. If you can name one person who fought for Black liberation that white people agreed with, I'll give you I got $5. Well, I need to go get it. So $3. Yep, if you could name one person who fought for Black liberation that white people liked, I'll give you $3. Don't worry, I'll wait. And while we're waiting, I might as well welcome you to the Griot Daily, the only podcast that does the opposite of what white people wants it to do. I'm Michael Harriot, world-famous white peopleologist, and this is the Griot Daily. Yeah, man, race, it's the only subject where people think it's subjective to juxtapose the opinions of people who have no education, no experience, and no expertise against people who have studied, lived, and worked in the field. When you think about Blackness that way, white people will give you and offer their opinion on this subject that they have no opinion on. I don't know why Black people always vote like this, or I don't know why Black people always say this. How can Tucker Carlson or Donald Trump or, Candace Owens ever know what it's like to be Black? They have no experience. So why do we listen to them? And more importantly, why we listen to any white person and the general white consensus? Because historically, white people have always been wrong. No one would invite a person who watches Grey's Anatomy to argue against a real doctor. You wouldn't listen to a weatherman if he was arguing against a climatologist. But when it comes to race, cable news outlets will pick conservatives from white nationalists like Tucker Carlson or Tom Cotton or Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Wicked Witch of the West, against Black and non-white people who are actually doing the work and know what they're talking about and live the experience. And that's not objectivity. That's not both sides. It's malpractice. There's nothing wrong with, having two opinions, but ask yourself, in the history of this country, when has a majority of white people been right about anything that is related to race? When it comes to freedoms and equality and diversity, white people just haven't been dead wrong. They've been obscenely proud of being wrong. As we know, history is the greatest teacher. So let's look back at all of the major movements in Black history and see what white people thought about them in real time. So let's start with slavery, or as I call it, race-based human trafficking that was enshrined in the Constitution that was color-based, right? White people didn't support the end of slavery. We only had to fight the biggest war in the history of the North American continent to end it. And I know what people say, half of the country fought to end slavery, and the South, they fought to continue it. Well, that's not really accurate. See, the South was fighting to continue their international human trafficking enterprise, but the North wasn't fighting to end slavery. They were fighting to preserve the Union. They were fighting to keep the South in the Union. And matter of fact, the North never wanted to fight for slavery until the South, who was adamant about, killing and legally raping and subjugating Black people, fired those shots at Fort Sumter. And then that's when the war began. It wasn't like, we're going to fight these white boys down in Georgia to end this slavery. Nah, they didn't do that. And if you need some evidence, here's what one dude said. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all of the slaves, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing some and leaving some others alone, I would do that. I mean, that was just some arcane little dude named Abraham Lincoln. So as you can see, he didn't care about slavery as much as he cared about preserving the Union. So I think that settles that. Let's go to the next one, the anti-lynching movement, right? So all throughout this country's history, since we essentially freed enslaved people, Black people have been pushing for an anti-lynching law in America. It began in 1900 when Representative George Henry, a Black Republican from North Carolina, introduced the first anti-lynching bill in Congress. And that bill didn't pass until, not 1900. No, it wasn't 1918 when they put forth the Dyer anti-lynching bill. No, it wasn't when the Civil Rights Movement. No, there still wasn't one. Not when they killed Emmett Till. Oh, yeah, it was this year, like a couple of months ago, right? That was the first anti-lynching bill. And all of the white people in America, all of the white voters, all of the politically involved people didn't collectively force this country to stop killing Black people, right? You can look it up, right? The Emmett Till anti-lynching bill just passed this year. And for 150 years, white people were like, it's kind of bad to kill Black people, but we ain't gotta make it a law. In fact, in 1938, during the congressional debates against H.R. 1507, a bill outlawing the extrajudicial murder of Black people, Representative Theodore Bill, both from Mississippi, of course it's Mississippi, stated this about the bill, and it was called the Preservation and Prevention and Punishment for Lynching Act. He called it insulting and democratic, and he said this, quote, "But I want to tell the advocates of this bill one thing. If you succeed in the passage of this bill, you will open the floodgates of hell in the South. Raping, mobbing, lynching, race riots, and crime will be increased 1,000-fold. And on your garments and the garments of those who are responsible for the passage of this bill will be the blood of the raped and outraged daughters of Dixie, as well as the blood of the perpetrators of these crimes that obscured and demeaned the red-blooded Anglo-Saxon white Southern men who will not tolerate it." I guess that settles that. Next, we'll go to the Civil Rights Movement, right? Now, we can talk about the Civil Rights Bill and we can talk about, whether white people supported it, but we have actual data, right? Here's this poll from 1964 that says most white people felt that the civil rights protests were, quote, not justified. 3 out of 4 white people believe that the civil rights movement was, and they always say this, right? They say this every time. I literally just received an email that called me this a few minutes before we started recording this episode of this podcast. They called it communist. 87% believed that the civil rights movement hurt the Negro. So, as you can see, they were wrong about civil rights. And when it came to Black Lives Matter, recent polls show that most white people believed that police treated both race equally. I don't know where they get that from. Do they not have the internet? Do they not? You can look at an episode of T.J. Hooker or Starsky and Hutch from the 70s and see, they treated Black people differently. They always had the Black people playing the thugs, right? And then they would get the information out of them by beating them in the head or slamming them against the hood. Like, in the 70s, car hoods were really hard. When it comes to freedom and equality, white people haven't just been dead wrong. They've been historically, obscenely proud of being wrong. But somehow we're supposed to think that everything is different now and they've turned around and they've gained more knowledge. How? Right? They haven't lived an experience that is similar to black people. They haven't gained more knowledge. Oh, well, maybe the schools are teaching more black history. Oh, no, I forgot about that. They're not learning more black history. They don't know what they're talking about. They never have. They never will. And given their historical track record on human rights, equality, voting, education, war, disease, intelligence, medicine, policing, drugs, mass, insurrection, terrorism, QAnon, Q's underground sex trafficking conspiracy, and president picking, it would be insane to arbitrarily ascribe any knowledge or any wisdom to a position collectively held by white people. So, as I said earlier, when white people say something, the smart thing would be to do the opposite. But for a moment, let's consider the possibility that they aren't as wrong as they have historically proven themselves to be. What would happen if they were wrong about the politics, the education, the economy, the justice, and all of the things that they harshly bellow into the wind every time a black person says something? Why do they think that we should listen to them? And here's the most important question. Let's say that they have some truth or some kind of knowledge to what they're saying. How would you juxtapose their position against the vast majority, all the other black people, all the other black activists, all the black people on the ground, all of the black people who go to cookouts and go to churches and hang out in their grandmother's living room and read black history? All of the black people in the history of America have been saying the same thing. And for some reason, we are supposed to adhere to and listen to the opinion of white people. There's only one explanation for that: white supremacy. And now that you know that, you have to ask yourself, when anyone who is white has an opinion on race, you have to ask yourself, why don't they watch the Griot Daily? Why don't they download the app? Why don't they subscribe on their favorite platform? Why won't they tell a friend? I don't know. I have no idea. But, as always, we'll leave you with one of our favorite black sayings. If you know, you know. And if you don't, just white-splain it. We'll see you later, and thanks for listening to the Griot Daily. Thank you for listening to the Griot Daily. If you liked what you heard, please give us a 5-star review, download the Griot app, subscribe to the show, and share it with everyone you know. Please email all questions, suggestions, and compliments to podcasts@thegrio.com.
You are now listening to the Griot's Black Podcast Network, Black Culture Amplified.
You're watching the Blackest Questions podcast with Christina Greer.
In this podcast, we ask our guests 5 of the blackest questions so we can learn a little bit more about them and have some fun while we're doing it.
Okay, so this is a trick question.
We're also going to learn a lot about Black history, past and present.
Beautiful. I learned a wonderful fact today. Great.
So here's how it works. We have 5 rounds of questions about us, Black history, the whole diaspora, current events, you name it. With each round, the questions get a little tougher.
Oh, you got me. Let me see.
I have no idea.
I knew you were going to go there, Dr. Greer.
Subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast and share it with everyone you know.